Welcome back to our deep dive into the Akkadian Empire.
Ah,
For our final exploration,
yeah.
we've covered their incredible rise,
Right.
unifying Mesopotamia in a way no one had ever seen before.
Mm.
But like all empires,
Yeah.
their story has two sides.
Huh?
Today, we're looking at how it all came crashing down,
Okay.
and surprisingly, how that fall still shapes our world.
It's a classic case of how even empires that seem unstoppable can be brought down by a combination of internal and external pressures.
Right.
The Akkadians,
Yeah.
despite their military might and all their innovations, were no exception.
You know, in previous deep dives, we talked about how the Akkadian Empire stretched all the way from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling how they managed all that.
It is.
But could that vast territory have actually been their downfall?
Absolutely.
Really?
It's one thing to conquer,
Right.
but governing such a massive area
Mm-hmm.
is a whole different challenge.
I can imagine.
Imagine trying to run a modern-day postal service
Uh-huh.
across that distance
Oh, gosh.
without the internet or even cars.
Yeah.
The Akkadian bureaucracy,
Mm.
while initially successful,
Yeah.
just couldn't keep up.
So it's like their system was built for a smaller empire and couldn't handle the rapid growth.
Precisely.
Okay.
And you can see this in how regional governors,
Mm-hmm.
the people in charge of those far-flung provinces,
Uh-huh.
started to exploit the situation.
Uh-huh.
Communication was slow.
Right.
Oversight was weak.
Yeah.
And these governors saw a chance to grab more power for themselves.
Okay, I can see how that would breed resentment and instability.
Exactly.
And I bet those governors weren't afraid to use that power vacuum to their advantage.
Right.
Did this lead to full-blown revolts?
Exactly.
Wow.
Revolts and rebellions began to erupt throughout the empire.
Oh, man.
It's like trying to hold together a giant puzzle where the pieces keep popping out of place.
I see.
And all of this internal strife left them incredibly vulnerable to outside threats.
Oh, man. It's like they were being squeezed from both inside and out.
Right.
And to make matters even worse, it sounds like they were hit with an environmental disaster of epic proportions, right?
You're right.
Okay.
Around 2200 BCE, we see evidence of a severe drought hitting the region.
Oh, wow.
Archaeological findings, along with climate data,
Mm-hmm.
point to a prolonged period of dryness
Right.
that devastated their agricultural systems.
Wow. So their fertile land, the foundation of their civilization, was turning into dust?
Right.
That must have had a catastrophic impact on their economy, trade, and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have to remember,
Yeah.
this is a time long before modern irrigation techniques
Mm-hmm.
or drought-resistant crops.
Right.
They were completely reliant on rainfall
Yeah.
and the flow of rivers,
Okay.
especially the Tigris and Euphrates,
Right.
which saw their water levels plummet during this time.
So not only were crops failing, but their main water sources, essential for irrigation and transportation, were drying up. This is starting to feel like a perfect storm brewing.
Yeah,
Did this drought play a role in the fall of major cities?
without a doubt.
Wow.
Major cities, once bustling with trade and activity, would have become incredibly vulnerable to famine and disease.
I see.
It's hard to maintain order and control when people are starving and desperate.
Right.
And this is where the Gutians entered the picture.
Ah, yes, the Gutians.
Right.
Nomadic people from the Zagros Mountains,
Mm.
often depicted as fierce warriors who took advantage of the Akkadian Empire's weakness.
Mm.
Is this where things really started to unravel?
It's important to remember that our understanding of the Gutians
Okay.
is mainly from Akkadian sources,
Right.
which understandably might have painted them in a negative light.
Uh-huh.
However, their impact was undeniable.
Yeah.
They disrupted crucial trade routes,
Okay.
not by simply blocking roads,
Right.
but by taking control of strategic mountain passes and choking off the flow of goods.
Wow.
We even see evidence of them using early forms of naval power to control river trade.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It wasn't just brute force. They had a strategic understanding of how to cripple the Akkadian economy. What specific goods were affected?
We see evidence that essential resources like timber,
Mm-hmm.
stone, and even metals,
Yeah. Okay.
crucial for building and maintaining an empire,
Right.
became increasingly scarce.
Yeah.
This would have had a devastating impact on the Akkadians' ability to defend themselves.
So their ability to wage war, build infrastructure, even feed their people was being strangled by the Gutians.
Right.
It's starting to feel like the walls were closing in on the Akkadians.
Yeah.
Did this lead to the fall of major cities?
Without a doubt.
Wow.
Cities weakened by internal strife,
Hmm.
famine and resource shortages became easy targets for the Gutians.
Okay.
They systematically took control of key cities,
Mm-hmm.
dismantling the administrative centers of Akkadian power.
Okay.
cutting off communication
Yeah.
and further fragmenting the empire.
And I imagine the fall of Akkad itself, the heart of the empire, must have been the final crushing blow.
Symbolically, yes.
Okay.
The fall of Akkad, the city that gave the empire its name,
Mm-hmm.
marks the end of an era.
Right.
But what's interesting is that the Gutians themselves didn't manage to establish a long-lasting empire.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
They conquered this massive empire but
Mhm.
couldn't hold on to it.
right.
Why was that?
Well,
Did they lack the experience or knowledge to manage such a complex system?
that's a question historians are still debating.
Oh, okay.
It's likely a combination of factors.
Okay.
The Gutians were skilled warriors,
Right.
but governing a vast,
Yeah.
diverse empire like Akkad
Yeah.
required more than just military strength.
I can imagine.
They might have lacked the administrative expertise,
Mm-hmm.
the cultural understanding,
Right.
or perhaps even the desire to maintain such a complex system.
So it's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
They toppled a giant but couldn't quite fill its shoes.
Right.
Does this lead to even more chaos and instability in the region?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
The fall of the Akkadian Empire, while triggered by the Gutians,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately led to a period of fragmentation and instability across Mesopotamia.
Wow.
It's like a power vacuum was created,
Okay.
and various factions and groups scrambled to fill it.
It's almost like the Akkadian Empire in its fall unintentionally sowed the seeds for a whole new era of conflict and change in Mesopotamia.
Hmm.
It's amazing how even in collapse, their influence continued to shape the region.
Right.
But what about the broader legacy of the Akkadians?
Yeah.
Did their achievements simply vanish with the fall of their empire?
Not at all.
Okay.
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh.
The Akkadian Empire might have been relatively short-lived,
Mhm.
but their impact on the world was far from over.
Okay.
They laid the groundwork for so many advancements in governance,
Mm.
culture, and even language that would influence civilizations for centuries to come.
So even though their empire crumbled, their innovations and ideas continued to resonate.
Exactly.
This is where I think we need to shift gears and start digging into the Akkadian legacy
Mhm.
and why it matters. Even today.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
The Akkadian Empire might be ancient history,
Mm-hmm.
but their story still holds valuable lessons and insights that are relevant even in our modern world.
Well, on that note,
Okay.
I think it's time for a quick break.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll delve into the specifics of the Akkadian legacy
Mhm.
and explore how their achievements shaped the course of history in ways you might not expect.
I can't wait.
Welcome back. I'm still reeling from how the Akkadians managed to achieve so much, but also how fragile that power turned out to be.
It really highlights the cyclical nature of empires, doesn't it?
It does.
They rise, they dominate,
Right,
and then for various reasons they fall.
right.
But what's fascinating is that their influence often extends far beyond their political lifespan.
Exactly. So let's dive into that.
Okay.
When we talk about the Akkadian legacy, what are the big things our listeners should be paying attention to?
Well, first and foremost, we can't overstate the significance of their pioneering work in creating a centralized empire.
Right.
Remember, this was a time when city-states were the norm in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
The Akkadians under Sargon of Akkad changed all that.
Yeah. I can only imagine how revolutionary that must have seemed at the time.
It was.
They weren't just conquering cities, they were creating a whole new system of governance.
Exactly.
But how did they actually make it work?
Well,
How did they manage to rule such a vast and diverse territory?
their innovations in administration were key.
Okay.
They developed a complex bureaucratic system,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a proto-civil service,
Right.
to manage everything from tax collection to public works to military logistics.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
And while it wasn't perfect,
Right.
it provided a framework
Yeah.
that future empires would build upon.
So it was like they wrote the rule book on how to run an empire.
Exactly.
That's pretty impressive considering they didn't really have any precedents to draw from.
Yeah. And the system, while complex,
Right.
was also surprisingly efficient.
Oh.
They standardized weights and measures, which facilitated trade.
Okay.
They implemented a system of taxation
Hmm.
that, while not always popular,
Right.
provided the resources needed to maintain their infrastructure and military.
Wait, standardized weights and measures? That
Mhm.
sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah.
Didn't they also have a standardized system of writing?
Yes. The Akkadians adopted and refined the cuneiform writing system,
Okay.
making it more efficient and adaptable to their needs.
Okay.
This standardized writing system played a crucial role in disseminating information,
Right.
laws, and even literature across the empire.
Wow, it's like they created the administrative and communication infrastructure that allowed their empire to function.
Exactly.
It's hard to imagine building and running an empire without those tools.
And these innovations didn't just vanish with the fall of the Akkadian Empire.
Oh, really?
They were adopted and adapted by subsequent empires,
Okay.
like the Babylonians and Assyrians,
hmm
who further refined these systems of governance and administration.
So it's not just about what the Akkadians achieved, but about how their achievements paved the way for future civilizations to build upon and improve upon their innovations.
Exactly.
It's like a domino effect of progress.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
The Akkadians were, in many ways, ahead of their time.
Right.
They laid the groundwork for a more interconnected, complex world.
Speaking of interconnectedness,
Yeah,
we can't forget about the impact of the Akkadian language.
right.
It became the lingua franca of Mesopotamia for centuries.
Absolutely. Think about it.
Okay.
In a world without telephones,
Yeah.
the internet,
Yeah.
or even reliable postal services,
Right.
having a common language for trade,
Mm-hmm.
diplomacy, and scholarship was essential.
Right.
The Akkadian language facilitated communication across vast distances and diverse cultures.
It's like they created a linguistic bridge that allowed people from all over Mesopotamia to connect and exchange ideas.
Exactly.
Did this have any impact on the spread of specific technologies or beliefs?
Without a doubt, the Akkadian language became a vehicle for the transmission of knowledge,
Okay.
religious ideas, and even artistic styles.
Okay.
For example, the spread of specific astronomical observations and mathematical concepts was facilitated by the use of Akkadian as a common language among scholars.
So it wasn't just about buying and selling goods. It was about exchanging knowledge and ideas that shaped the intellectual landscape of the entire region.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
And this linguistic legacy continues to be felt even today.
Oh, wow.
Akkadian is essential for scholars studying ancient Mesopotamian texts,
Right.
providing a window into the thoughts, beliefs, and daily lives of those civilizations.
It's like the Akkadian language is a time machine, allowing us to connect with people who lived thousands of years ago.
It's a powerful reminder that even ancient civilizations were part of a global network of exchange and interaction.
And speaking of connections, let's talk about their contributions to culture and religion. The Akkadian Empire wasn't just about administration and conquest. They also left behind a rich legacy of myths, epics, and religious ideas, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The Akkadians were prolific storytellers.
Right.
Their myths and epics weren't just entertainment. They provided a framework for understanding the world, the role of humans within it,
Right.
and the nature of the divine.
Were there any particular stories or characters that really resonated with people across Mesopotamia?
Well, you can't talk about Akkadian literature without mentioning the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Okay.
It's one of the oldest surviving works of literature.
Wow.
And early versions of the story originated during the Akkadian Empire.
Oh, wow. So those stories about Gilgamesh, his quest for immortality, his battles with monsters, those were already circulating during the Akkadian period.
Exactly. The Epic of Gilgamesh was more than just a thrilling adventure story. It explored profound themes of life, death, friendship, and the meaning of existence.
Wow.
And its popularity endured for centuries, with versions of the story appearing in Babylonian, Assyrian, and even Hittite texts.
It's amazing how a story can transcend time and cultural boundaries like that.
It is.
What about their religious beliefs?
Whoa.
Did they have a lasting impact on Mesopotamian religion?
The Akkadians worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses,
Okay.
with Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, being particularly prominent.
Right.
Their religious beliefs and practices influenced later Mesopotamian religions,
Okay.
shaping the development of Babylonian and Assyrian theology.
So even though their empire fell, their gods and goddesses lived on in the hearts and minds of people across Mesopotamia.
Exactly.
A powerful legacy. But I think we're running out of time for this segment.
Okay.
What are some of the key things you want our listener to be thinking about as we move into our final exploration of the Akkadian Empire?
I think it's important to remember that the Akkadians, despite their achievements, were not a perfect civilization.
Right.
They faced challenges, made mistakes, and ultimately their empire collapsed.
Right.
However, their story is a reminder that even in failure, there can be enduring lessons and legacies that shape the course of history.
Well said. Join us for the final part of our Akkadian Empire deep dive, where we'll delve into the lessons we can learn from their rise and fall and explore how their legacy continues to resonate even today. Welcome back to our final exploration of the Akkadian Empire. We've covered their rise, their fall, and all the amazing things they accomplished. Now it's time to consider their legacy.
Right.
It's wild to think how an empire that existed thousands of years ago can still have relevance today.
It is.
It's a testament to the power of ideas and innovations to transcend time and geographical boundaries.
Absolutely.
The Akkadians, despite their relatively short time in the spotlight,
Yeah.
left an indelible mark on the world, shaping the trajectory of civilizations that followed and influencing aspects of our lives even today. I think one of the most obvious legacies is their role as pioneers of the centralized empire. We've touched on this before, but I'd love to dig a little deeper.
Okay. What were some of the key elements of this Akkadian model of empire?
Yeah.
And how did it differ from what came before?
Before the Akkadians,
Right.
Mesopotamia was a patchwork of independent city-states,
Okay.
each with its own ruler laws and often rivalries with its neighbors. The Akkadians, under Sargon of Akkad, changed all that.
So they were creating a more unified system.
Exactly.
Okay.
They didn't just conquer cities. They unified them under a single ruler and a centralized system of governance.
That must have been a radical shift for the people living in those city-states.
It was a huge shift.
Suddenly they were part of something much larger with new laws, new taxes,
Right.
and a new sense of identity.
Yeah.
Did this create any pushback or resistance?
Of course there was resistance.
Okay.
Change is never easy,
Right.
especially when it involves a loss of autonomy or power.
Right.
But the Akkadians were adept at consolidating their rule,
Okay.
using a combination of military force, strategic alliances, and cultural integration. So it wasn't just about brute force. They were also skilled diplomats and understood the importance of winning over the hearts and minds of the people they conquered.
Exactly.
How did they achieve this cultural integration?
Well, the Akkadian language played a key role.
Okay.
It became the language of administration, trade, and scholarship, facilitating communication across the vast empire. They also promoted the worship of Akkadian gods and goddesses,
Right.
integrating them into the existing pantheons of the conquered city-states.
So they were weaving together different cultural and religious threads to create a more cohesive empire.
Exactly.
But beyond language and religion, how did they manage to administer such a vast and diverse territory? We talked about their bureaucracy before,
Right.
but what made it so effective?
Their bureaucratic system was remarkably sophisticated for its time.
Okay.
They established a hierarchy of officials, from scribes and tax collectors to
Yeah.
regional governors, all reporting back to the central authority.
Oh.
This system, while not without its flaws,
Right.
allowed them to manage everything from tax collection
Yeah.
and public works to military logistics and legal disputes.
It sounds like they created a blueprint for how to run an empire. A blueprint that would influence later civilizations like the Babylonians, Assyrians, and even the Persians.
Exactly. The Akkadians didn't have any real precedents to draw from.
Right.
They were innovating, experimenting,
Yeah.
and in doing so, they created a model of governance that would shape the political landscape of the ancient Near East for centuries.
It's mind-boggling to think how much of an impact they had considering their empire lasted only a couple of centuries.
It is.
But their legacy goes far beyond just the political realm. We've also talked about their contributions to law, literature, and even architecture.
Exactly. Their law codes, like the Code of Renamo,
Right.
which we discussed earlier, laid the foundation for a more just and orderly society.
Yeah.
And these legal traditions influenced the development of law in Mesopotamia and beyond.
And their stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh explored universal themes that continue to resonate with people today.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how a story can transcend time and cultural boundaries like that.
It is a reminder that even though we live in a vastly different world today,
Right.
the human experience with all its joys and sorrows, its triumphs and tragedies, hasn't really changed all that much.
That's a powerful thought. And speaking of things that endure, we can't forget about their architectural achievements. Those ziggurats built with simple mud brick are still standing today.
I know, it's amazing.
Testaments to their ingenuity and skill.
Their ziggurats were more than just temples.
Right.
They were symbols of power, religious devotion,
Yeah.
and community identity. They served as focal points for religious rituals, festivals, and even legal proceedings, bringing people together and connecting them to something larger than themselves.
It's like those ziggurats were the beating heart of Akkadian society. They represented their ambition, their creativity, their connection to the divine.
Absolutely. And the fact that some of these structures still stand today.
I know.
despite centuries of erosion and conflict,
Right.
is a testament to the skill and ingenuity of the Akkadian builders.
It's awe-inspiring to think about the effort and artistry that went into creating these monumental structures,
Yes.
and their influence on later architectural styles in Mesopotamia is undeniable.
Absolutely. The ziggurat form,
Right.
with its stepped pyramid design, became a signature feature of Mesopotamian architecture,
Yeah.
inspiring generations of builders and leaving a lasting mark on the landscape of the ancient Near East.
So as we conclude our deep dive into the Akkadian Empire,
Okay.
what are the key takeaways you want our listener to walk away with? What lessons can we learn from the rise and fall of this ancient powerhouse?
I think the Akkadian story offers several valuable lessons.
Right.
First, it's a reminder that even the most powerful empires are not invincible.
Okay.
Internal strife, external pressures, environmental changes,
Right.
all of these can contribute to their downfall.
So it's a cautionary tale about the fragility of power and the importance of adaptability, resilience, and perhaps even a little bit of humility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Second, the Akkadian experience highlights the enduring power of ideas and innovations.
Right.
Their contributions to governance, law, language,
Yeah.
and architecture continue to influence civilizations long after their empire had collapsed.
It's like they planted seeds that grew into something much larger, shaping the course of history in ways they could never have imagined.
That's a great way to put it.
And finally,
Yeah.
their story reminds us that we are all part of a larger narrative, a tapestry of human history woven together by countless threads of interaction and influence.
Right.
The Akkadians, though long gone, are still part of our story,
Yeah,
and their legacy continues to shape our world in profound ways.
absolutely.
And on that note, we conclude our deep dive into the Akkadian Empire. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through time and gained a deeper appreciation for the enduring impact of this remarkable civilization. Remember, history is not just about memorizing dates and names. It's about understanding the forces that have shaped our world and the lessons we can learn from the past to build a better future.